How's it going, everybody? This is Tyler Dunne here with LeRoy Butler for another Senior Bowl video here in Mobile. Getting comfortable at your old stomping grounds, LeRoy?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. Obviously, you get a chance to talk to a lot of people. It's a big networking thing here, and seeing some of the players. Not in pass today, by the way, because I was at the South. You was at the North. But the one thing that you can see, Tyler, is athletic ability. Something most teams love to see. That's why they have you in shorts.
That's right. I mean, we really wanted to make a point to watch the safeties, some outside linebackers that they're going to need a pass rush from.
Yeah.
What stood out at the South practice? What were you looking for?
Well, I think for the most part in the South practice, I was looking for guys that I figured that can fit what the Packers are looking for. And obviously, one guy, the two Florida State inside linebackers, Christian Jones and Tevin Smith. Christian Jones exclusive as an inside backer. Both guys 6'3", 6'4", rangy. Christian Jones had a great practice. They had a couple of interceptions, but these guys are smart, Tyler. And I think that's what you need.
That Florida State education.
Yeah, I'll tell you, we've changed. That's back when me and Deion was there. It's a little bit different now.
Yeah.
But even in these guys who, not with the great stats, but what you put them in leadership roles, and you really like that. And I think that's one thing that really stood out. Another guy that stood out was D Ford. Now, here's where Tyler playing, because he's 6'2", 240. Teams who looking for outside linebacker in the 3-4 scheme say, where does he fit? But this guy's a football player.
Just a freak, isn't he?
And that's what you like about guys who can go after the quarterback. And I was very interested to know where he was rated. And I think right now they have him as an outside linebacker / defensive end.
And I talked to D Ford a little bit this week, and he really is a confident guy. I mean, he said he's the best here and believes he can play in any defense, any scheme. But, I just wonder, he's been beating tackles all week. Can he do that against NFL offensive tackles? I mean, can he really transition to that next level? Because here in Green Bay, I'm going to write about this for the paper, outside of Clay Matthews, they have just not found that outside backer from the college ranks at defensive end. That's a really tough transition.
Yes, and I think for the most part, teams understand that out of your defensive linebackers, you want so many sacks, but they have not gotten a specialist. And D4 would be a pass rush specialist if he didn't start right away. He'd come on an obvious passing situation, or you can just put him in there at a situation. So if you want to play a little 4-3 in the nickel defense, they just need an impact player. He would fit that mold.
Okay, we talked about the safeties a little bit yesterday, but not specific players really. You had a chance to watch these guys. Anybody stand out to you? Really, there isn't a stud here at that safety position, but a lot of guys.
A lot of guys, and one guy in particular that I really liked was Ahmad Dixon from the North. Played at Baylor. He's 6 feet, 205 pounds. He was their vocal leader. And if you understand what you're looking from a safety, he's very athletic. And he's fearless. He's a very willful tackler, something you don't necessarily see in the NFL anymore. And I don't know if it's because of the fines, but he's the kind of guy that's defended a lot of spread offenses, a lot of riding the side. So he's seen everything, and he can be the guy you could put with Morgan Burnett, and they can grow kind of together. Or you can get a guy, can he play safety and corner? And that's what the guy that really caught my eye was guy Walter Atkins from Liberty. This guy seemed like he played corner and safety. I think that's what it's going to take to get on some of the NFL rosters.
I mean, can you just explain to the viewers how important it is as a safety to cover in today's NFL? I mean, that's really been a problem for Green Bay.
That's a good question, Tyler. When I played, I never left the field, and I came from the safety and went up to cover the best third receiver. If you have to take your safety and he can be interchangeable, that makes your team very valuable. If you're going to either go after the quarterback or cover a guy, you can make a lot of money in this particular draft because everybody, it's a quarterback-driven league. Everybody wants to be spread out. But in this day and age, if you can get a guy 6 feet that can run in the 4-3, 4-4, it's great. But you don't necessarily have to do that, Tyler. You just have to execute, alignment, and assignment, and that's what's missing. And I've talked to a lot of the agents for some of these players, and they've indicated to some of their safety / corners, if you can stay on the field, you can make my job a lot easier to negotiate your contract. So it'd be very easy if you can do that.
In that same vein, I guess a guy who stood out to me is the local kid from Mobile, Jimmy Ward, out of Northern Illinois. I mean, he's somebody that had 6 or 7 interceptions last year, played corner at times in college, but He's been around the ball a lot. He's not a big guy, so if you're looking for that big physical guy that you think he can mold, maybe Buchanan out of Washington State. He's had a lot of big hits this week, but didn't cover a lot in college. So there really isn't that whole package here at the safety position. Clinton Dix out of Alabama, underclassman.
Yep.
Maybe he's their Green Bay's pick, but maybe in the mid rounds, maybe they do take a chance on somebody. I thought you made a good point yesterday, though. Veteran is probably the way to go.
A veteran is the way to go to me because that gives you an impact right away. But I think the Green Bay Packers, they may not be looking for a big, because they got Morgan Burnett, who's a big guy. They got Richardson, who's a big guy. And then they got a smaller guy, MD Jennings. They need a guy between those three guys that can be more athletic. What they don't have is athleticism. And I think Ward would bring some of that. And you want a guy with some good hands and be around the football.
Yeah.
Because not having any interceptions at safety is unacceptable.
Yeah, and it's a fine line, a fine balance, because they don't want these safeties taking risks, taking chances. Ladler, a guy out of Vanderbilt, this week he did kind of take a few chances, Scout said, and are a little uneasy with him. But this is a pick they have to nail. I mean, they missed Jerome McMillan. They got to get this next pick right.
I agree. And then I talked a little bit of Ted Thompson.
Did you?
Yeah, and we got a chance to just talk, more so about football one-on-one, but not about the specific picks. But I think for the most part, I could see the stress in his face to understand I gotta turn this thing around. We're not gonna make a lot of defensive hold change. I know Kevin Green has stepped down and had maybe lost one or two other guys on the staff, but for the most part, defensively, he knows he has to get athletic. And I think that's what they're looking for in this particular draft.
Speed, athleticism. To wrap it up here, is there another player that stood out to you?
Well, it was one guy that I saw, and people Marcus Smith, outside linebacker at Louisville. Now, one thing, Tyler, actually it's two guys, but with Marcus, only thing I see is sacks.
Yeah.
The guy gets after the quarterback.
Right.
That's something the Green Bay Packers need. And another guy I thought would fit was a Hagman from Minnesota. He's a defensive tackle that can play in the 3-4 system. He's 6'6". He blocks a lot of passes. He's played in the Big Ten, so everybody has seen the guy play. He fits the Green Bay Packer mold of what you really would like. And hopefully, I think for the most part, again, go back to those two Florida State linebackers. Bring some of those guys in to feel like you can put your roster at a position that you compete, especially when you compete with San Francisco and Seattle for the next decade.
And you know something about those Florida State guys, right?
That's right. They just want to play hard. And take some of these guys who play the national championship games. They want to go to an organization that's continue winning in the best tradition, and that's Green Bay.
I mean, we talked about that offense and that quarterback all year. They have a lot of studs on defense there.
Yes,
and Christian
absolutely.
Jones being one of those guys. They won at safety, so it should be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think so. And real quick, Borland, inside linebacker for the Badgers. People want to know about him. Yeah. The height is not an issue anymore, Tyler. If you can play football, you play football.
You think so?
I think so. I think, and even with Aberdaris, people think they want to put him with the Edelman, the smaller white guy receivers in the slot. That's not his game.
The Wes Welker type, right?
Right. Now, he's more outside like Jordy Nelson. He's 6'2". Yeah. He can go out. He can make your team better. And I think for the most guys, the guy that's riding under the radar is the tight end for the Badgers. I think he fits the most, a bigger type guy, and I think for the most part you'll see a lot of Badgers in this particular draft go higher than you think.
Borland's an interesting one. I mean, he's been an animal all week, couple interceptions, some breakups, tackling machine in college, short arms, short stature.
I don't care about that. I look for football players. That's what Ted Thompson looks for.
He does.
He looks for football
but
players.
Not Wisconsin football players, LeRoy.
And this is a combination of a small impact guy that I think can put pressure on Brad Jones and A.J. Hawk to play better. Or if not, he can help your special teams. He is definitely a guy that if I'm a Green Bay Packer, I would love to just league break him out.
I mean, in that 3-4 defense, they need those inside backers to really take care of business because the big guys up front, they're eating up the blockers.
Absolutely.
We'll see if they had somebody there.
And that's the way it works. You want a guy that's very optimistic. And I want a guy that's played in that system.
Mm-hmm.
And Borland has played in this particular system that's similar to that. So he would be a guy that's high on the list in the later rounds that you can bring in that can help your team. And not to mention he's a tackling machine and he's smart.
All right. Well, hey, that
not
sounds
as smart
good
as
here.
You, though.
No, I don't know about that. It's Syracuse, not Florida State. Thanks a lot for watching and listening, everybody. And it's been fun. LeRoy, good to have you in town.
Anytime.
We'll have to do it again.
All right.
Catch you next time.